Welcome to the important session in module 3, that is Python syntax rules. So this slide reviews and expands on the syntax ideas introduced earlier. In general, Python has a simple statement based syntax. However, there are a few properties you need to know about. Python has a simple and statement based syntax. So what does this mean? Basically, module is nothing but a group of statements. So now the statements execute one after another until you say otherwise. So Python normally runs statements in a file or nested block in order from first to last. But statements like if, loop cause the interpreter to jump around in your code. Now, block and statement boundaries are detected automatically, as we have seen there are no braces or begin or end delimiter around blocks of code in Python. Instead, Python uses indentation of statements in a nested block. Similarly, Python statements are not usually terminated with semicolons. Rather, the end of a line usually marks the end of the statement coded on that line. Then, all compound statements in Python follow the same pattern. A header line terminated with a colon followed by one or more nested block. Blank lines, spaces, and comments are usually ignored. Then Python supports an additional comment for called documentation strings or doc strings for short, which unlike comments are retained at runtime for inspection. So now we will look into a block diagram. Okay, so Python detects block boundaries automatically by line indentation, that is the empty space to the left of your code. That's what we call it as an indentation. So all statements indented the same distance to the right belong to the same block of code. You can clearly observe that from our block delimiters indentation rules diagram or infograph. Okay, now the block ends when the end of the file or a lesser indented line is encountered. So now, for instance, the following code contains three blocks. Okay, the first is at the top level code of the file. The first is the top level code of the file and is not at all indented. You see, this is the first block or block 0. You call it as a block 0. There is no indentation. See, x is equals to 1 is block 0. There is no indentation at all. And header line also doesn't have any indentation. That's if statement also doesn't have any indentation. So this also comes under. Of course, this is a header line, so that's why we don't say this as a block. Okay, header lines are not called as a blocks because it's a part of compound statement. Okay, so then we got the block 0, the top level code of the file. Then the second is within the outer if statement. Okay, within the if statement, what we have, y is equals to 2 is within the if statement, and it is indented how many lines of space? 1 space, 2 space, 3 spaces and 4 spaces. It has got indented 4 spaces. So this is our a second block, or we call it as a block 1. Then again we have header line. So header line is not considered as a block, so it is part of a compound statement. Then the third one is the print statement under the nested if, and it is indented 8 spaces. Till here it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. So this is our third block. We call it as a block 2. So again, so the next print is goes as a block 1 because it has the same amount of spaces as block 1. That is 4 spaces. And the last one, obviously the print block 0 does not have any spaces, so it's the high level top level code of the file, so it's a block 0. So this is how we actually write blocks of code and a number of statements to make a module. Okay, so with this we are finishing this part, that's Python syntax rules. You just keep practicing it and explore more on this is very important topic. You should understand this so that you can read any Python file. If you are clear with these fundamentals, these basics, you can read any Python file. That is very important. As a Pythoneer, as a Pythonista, you should know how to read a Python file, .py file better. So with this, I just a small request for all of you: just keep subscribing it and then keep spreading the word to all of your friends so that everybody can get benefit. And thanks, and I'll see you again in another video.